Here is a fender neck that I put on my parts caster about a year ago. The reason I got this neck was because I like the look of the gloss polyurethane finish on a roasted maple fretboard, but unfortunately I didn't like how the finish felt, especially at sweaty gigs. Basically, my fingers were sticking to the fretboard, which made big bends on the G, B, and high E strings feel pretty rough. I'm bending strings all the time when soloing, so this was definitely a problem for me. Before I get into what I did, I want to make it clear I'm a novice when it comes to removing a finish, and this was my first time doing this to a guitar. This video is not intended to be a tutorial in any way. The first thing I tried was this citrus strip gel. I left it on overnight and it didn't work at all. I gave it a shot because it doesn't produce any harsh fumes. Products containing methylene chloride would definitely work, but I wasn't going to risk messing around with a toxic chemical like that. Plus, I don't think you can even buy that in stores anymore. The next thing I tried was scuffing up the board with Scotch-Brite pads, the 600 grit green ones. That helped a little bit, but the board was still a little bit sticky. Then I came across this YouTube video. The gentleman in the video is using a razor blade to scrape the finish off the fretboard, and he seemed to get pretty good results, so I decided to give it a shot. It took me about 40 minutes to scrape down to the wood on each fret. I estimate there was about 1.5 millimeters of finish on the board, which took a while to work through with this method. After about 5 frets, I switched to sandpaper to see if that would be quicker, and it was. I started with 60 grit sandpaper and worked up to 600 grit. Then I switched to Scotch-Brite pads and finished with 4/0 steel wool. By the way, I taped off the frets with a few layers of painter's tape and just reused the same pieces of tape as I worked my way up the fretboard. Even though I was trying to take the finish down uniformly, I ended up reaching the wood in the middle of the frets first. I didn't want to take much wood off at all, so I stopped sanding when I got to this point. What I ended up with was a scalloped poly finish, not so much with the wood itself. It's tough to pick this up on video though. The bare wood is really the only obvious thing here. I'm really happy with the results, although some will cringe at how grungy the fretboard looks now. It doesn't look pretty anymore, but it feels so much better.